You didn't come out until you were finished playing.
No.
Why not?
I had so much internalized homophobia and self-hatred. Like, I hated the fact that I was gay, if I'm being honest with you. It took me so many years to reconcile this idea that I was black, that I was gay, that I was this really great athlete, because I had never seen that before. You know, my understanding of being gay was Will and Grace or Queer as Folk and shows like that. So there was a lack of representation. So I never saw myself in the world. So I didn't think that my being was actually possible. And like, I have this old adage that it's very hard to become what you've never seen, right? So I didn't know that I was possible. So it was such a struggle. And people often ask, like, why wasn't I out in the NFL? And I say, well, I wasn't out in college. I wasn't out in high school. I had yet to find a space of self-love or have people around me who affirmed the fact that I was gay. So I just didn't think that that I was possible.
When you made the decision to come out, how was that received by, first of all, family, close friends? What were their reactions?
Initially, my mother and my father were not great. You know, the second thing that my mother said to me when I came out was, "You're already black." You know, and I think that she thought that I was going to further marginalize myself and further have a harder struggle. But I'm thankful now that we're best friends again. Her and my partner, they text and they tweet and they're disgusting, you know. But it took many, many years for that kind of growth to happen, you know. So when I hear stories of President Obama or our future President Hillary Clinton, you know, that they've evolved, I can understand that because I experienced that with people in my family.
You've also talked about the idea of the difficulty not only of coming out, but coming out as a black man,
yeah.
as you just mentioned. And I saw you quoted one time where you said, look, as a young black man, you're not taught about being vulnerable,
yeah.
About being that sort of, that kind of compassionate and open black man.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, and what has to be done about that?
You know, that's such a hard conversation to have, and I think it's so contextual. One, I think that, you know, historically, black men have always been viewed in this very criminal and tough and hyper-masculine space, and we kind of take on these ideas and these tropes that we can never show up as vulnerably. And the idea of being gay has always historically meant that you're less than, that you're weak, or that you're like a woman, right? And if you're trying to show up in the world in this specific way, being gay doesn't match, right? So I think that we have to, one, expand this idea of masculinity, right? That men can show up in a spectrum of ways and be loved and embraced. I think that has to start as children, that this idea of toughness and manhood has got to be redefined.
Do you find that your message tends to resonate a little bit more, at least with certain groups, because it's coming from somebody who was an outstanding athlete, even
100%.
making it to the professional level? Did they hear your voice more because of that?
Yeah, and that's good and bad, right? So I have something that people call masculine privilege, which means I can enter and exit spaces and people don't assume that I'm gay, right? But within that, I have a responsibility to help people understand that being gay isn't this monolithic way of showing up, that men who are gay have a spectrum of the ways that we perform ideas of masculinity. So I do have this privilege, but so within that privilege, I have to force people to have a lot of hard conversations. An example would be, I have individuals who'll say, well, Wade, like, you're gay, but you're not the F word, right? And I have to say, well, what does that actually mean? You know, just because there is this idea that being gay is weak, you know, so I try to pivot and have discussions around the intersections of homophobia and sexism, because there is a ugly connection there, that oftentimes that the ways that we think of women of being less than and property, we also see a gay men being the same.